Good evening, everybody. With it being close to 6:30 on Tuesday, October 9th, 2018, I will call this meeting of the WPS School Committee to order and ask that we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. First item on the agenda, I will entertain a motion to approve our September 25th, 2018 minutes.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Laurie, would you poll the committee, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes. If the committee does not object, since we do have a very long agenda and our lovely student rep probably has a ton of homework from those Bartlett teachers, I will skip down to item 3, student update, Mariah Belletti. Good evening, Mariah.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So for our update, we have academics. We had the SATs on this past Saturday. A lot of my friends went, and they all said they think they did better than last time, which I think is great. For athletics, golf has had 6 wins in a row, which assured them a spot in this season's District 2 playoffs. The wins included against Uxbridge, Oxford, Millbury, David Prouty, Leicester, and Quabog. The JV volleyball team won over Oxford. Girls cross country has won over David Prouty, as long with the boys cross country, who also won over Leicester as well. Registration for Bartlett October PSATs began for sophomores and juniors. And then we also had the co-ed volleyball tournament that was held on October 3rd, and a lot of students went, and I saw a lot of teachers posting updates on like their Instagram and Twitters that they have, so I thought it was cool to see it. I couldn't go because I had work, unfortunately, but it looked like it was fun. For school clubs, we have the Diversity Club, and we had that week last week before homecoming week, and they had a lot of presentations all throughout the week, and I really like them because I think listening to inspirational messages kind of like motivates me to do better. So hopefully a lot of the kids got good takeaways from that as well. We have theme days now on Wednesdays, on the Wednesday half days, so every first Wednesday of the month. And this month was the fictional character day. And then we also have a newly formed literature club that will have its first meeting, that had its first meeting today from 2 to 3. For NHS, we will be announcing their new members soon. We had the packet sent out for people who are eligible. So whoever submits their packets, they will be elected and inducted soon. And the induction ceremony is on October 25th. It's a Thursday, and I believe it's starting at 7 p.m. For student council, we had the kickoff for homecoming this week, and we began with a pep rally. That was really fun. We had a lot of student participation. Today was class color day, so freshmen wore yellow, sophomores white, juniors blue, and then seniors black. So you could see everyone wearing the colors and supporting the classes. And then we also had lots of faculty and student games with one another, which was fun. I always like watching them. I don't participate though, but it's fun to watch. Seniors won all of them, so yay for us. For upcoming
Excuse me
events,
just for a second. The tug of war is under protest as John Basami was allegedly holding on to the bleachers. So the faculty is lodging protest on that victory.
I believe Mariah should actually ask for the school committee to rule on that this evening, and my guess would be that we would rule in favor of the students, but.
we'll do another game and another round during Thanksgiving pep rally, and we'll see. For other upcoming events, we have the homecoming football game this Friday at the Memorial Athletic Field, and that starts at 7. And the dance is on Saturday from 7 to 10. And so far, we're selling until Wednesday, so until tomorrow. And we've sold over 100 tickets so far, so it's a really good outcome and a really good fundraiser for the senior class. As I said, we have the PSATs, which will be on the 24th. Induction ceremony, the 25th, and then we have the senior class Halloween night for all the middle school kids and elementary school kids, and then volunteers from high school, and if they have siblings to bring. And that's going to be from 6 to 8 on that Friday. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from Mariah? I have one question, and if I put you on the spot, you don't have to answer this. So in a few minutes, Mrs. Gogan and all her administrators are going to give us a presentation on MCAS. As somebody who is graduating soon and has gone through MCAS for many, many years, what's your opinion as a student?
On taking the test?
On the MCAS, what value do they bring, if any, et cetera?
I know I'm personally not I'm an okay test taker. I don't like being put on time frame, so I like how MCAS, like, it has a time frame, but if you don't finish the section by that time, they do let you go to the library and finish it, so I do like that. But I don't mind taking the MCAS. I think it kind of shows me what I know and what I do like have to learn still from class, especially like math session, because that's my favorite subject. So it's like I want to know as much as possible in that subject. So like taking the test, I know what I have learned and what I need to work more on. So I personally don't mind it. The English section, I'm not good at English. I always misread things, so that's kind of like an iffy. Like it depends on what kind of prompt you get in essay and or like what it's talking about. Like I know for my this is not MCAS, but for like AP English, my test that I had like a political um, part of the section to read, and I didn't really understand it. So I think it depends on how you view things and what topics you're like knowledgeable on. So I think it.
Did you think you were prepared? I know it was a couple
Um,
years ago, the last time you had to
yeah,
take
I
it.
think I was, but I do really well in school, so I think that my teachers also helped push me. So with like me wanting to progress in school and then them teaching me to the best ability, I think I was well prepared for it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on with the agenda, the next item is the superintendent's report. Good evening, Mrs. Gogan.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm good. I am rushing out from one course to come to the meeting. I apologize for being a few
No
minutes late.
problem.
We have a short presentation tonight to give you on the MCAS results. The MCAS results were public on September 27th. An informational letter went home to families on that day with our results, and individual students' results were mailed on Friday. Tonight we have a brief presentation to give you the big picture view of where the district is. I will say, and I believe I told you this at the last meeting, there's a new accountability system in the state. So just when we think we have it under wraps and we understand the accountability system is changing. So with this new system, all schools will get an overall classification, whether districts require assistance or not. We are a district that requires some assistance. You will get your progress towards your improvement targets, and you'll be seeing some good information. We've shown some gains, especially at Park Avenue Elementary School, an accountability percentile, and a determination of need of technical assistance, whether we meet the requirements or need assistance. And as I said before, Webster has been for many years a district in need of assistance. I'm hopeful that we are turning a tide, and I think some of the data that we see tonight is going to show that. Although the state has advised us not to use last year's measurement and this year's measurement to compare, the state themselves are using last year's measurement and this year's measurement to compare. So we will show you a little bit about that. This year, the new accountability system breaks up achievement levels for English, math, and science, and they also break it up into student growth percentiles for English and math. And there's some new components in there. The high school completion rate, the 4-year cohort graduation rate, the extended graduation rate, how long if kids go beyond 4 years, and the annual dropout rate. The English language proficiency rates for students is also incorporated, and the additional indicators of absenteeism and advanced coursework completion. There's a mathematical computation for different groups, whether you're a low-performing student or a high-performing student, and the mathematical calculation we won't get into. I truly don't understand it fully yet, but I will tell you that we are meeting with the SOS team tomorrow with another data specialist that's coming, and we have planned this Thursday a deep dive with our ILT teams and our district leadership team to take a look at Edwin Analytics and MCAS data. So what I'm learning is that data has not been used to the extent where everyone is using it to inform their instruction. So I'm pleased that we have moved over to the iReady assessment, which is in-district data, and our teachers are going to be using that data with frequency. And I'm very pleased at our October 3rd Professional Development Day, half day, when teachers were being trained on that, there's a level of excitement and commitment for teachers to really use that data. So I'll go into my other reports on other things after we show you this brief presentation. I want to share this with you with Janice, our MCAS coordinator for the district, and we're going to sort of tackle this together.
Yes, yes, we are. Thank you. So I just want to remind everyone of the achievement levels for the next generation. And for MCAS, there are two tests. The next generation is for grades 3 through 8. And then for the high school, they take what's called the Legacy MCAS. But these are the achievement levels for the next generation. I'm not going to read them all. And then we have the accountability.
So, as Janice just inferred, the Bartlett High School took the Legacy MCAS this
For the
year.
last time.
For the last time. This year, they'll be taking the next generation. So our accountability percentiles are up on the screen. Bartlett was at the 9th percentile and has decreased to the 6th percentile. That's from 2017 in yellow and 2018 in blue. Pleased to show progress over at Webster Middle School, where they've increased from the 7th percentile to the 11th percentile. And I am extremely proud of the teachers at Park Avenue Elementary. They have gone from being in the 1 percentile to the 22nd percentile. I think that data right there shows you that the work that we did last year with a concerted effort district-wide to put a plan of action in place, a turnaround plan to look at the reading, put a structured reading program to make sure that grade level content was being taught and putting in those additional supports.
Increased time on learning, too.
And we increased time on learning, we changed the schedule, and we changed the schedule this year,
Yep.
is really demonstrating that we're on the right track. So I do want to give out a shout out to the teachers because that's where the rubber hits the road. It's in the classroom. And we can provide the structures and the supports, but when it comes down to it, the teachers have to implement the programs and really be able to understand what the student in front of them, their needs are. And so we have a long way to go. We're not, 22 percentile is not where we want to be. We want to be higher, of course. But Park Avenue Elementary School met the targets. 88% of the students met the targets. So that's huge. That's a huge change in 1 year's time.
Can I just ask one question after what you just said? If 88% of the students met, why is the accountability report 22%?
So in your packet that we gave you,
Right.
You're going to see where the detailed accountability report, where they exceeded the targets. And Park Avenue, actually, when you look at their scores in the detailed report, exceeded the targets in many areas, except for ELL, the ELL population. The way that they're rating us, and this is where the mathematical computation comes in and that we need to have some clarity on, is they're basing your growth on where you are. So we're showing progressive growth. So we've shown progressive growth. Do we still have more growth to show? Yes, we do. That's why we're at the 22 percentile, if that makes sense. I can't explain the mathematical computation because I don't fully understand it. We did a webinar. We did 2 webinars. We did 3 webinars. This is a new system for everyone in the state. So there are still some questions for us.
But for those that might be watching, it's not fair to say that only 22%, 11%, and 6% of the students, quote unquote, passed.
No, that's our accountability.
I'm just,
Okay.
that's why I'm asking the
Yeah,
question.
So
because this
let
is
me,
where it gets
now I can explain it. There's 2 scores here. There's an accountability rating, and that's our accountability rating. And then the 88 percentile of kids meeting our targets, that's our growth percentile. So they're looking at student growth, and this is overall accountability.
Okay.
Does that make more sense?
I asked that purposely because I knew the answer to my question was not 22, only 22% were quote-unquote passing, but a lot of folks that may be watching or read the information look at it that way.
Well, I believe this is where it shows where your school falls within
The state.
that state, in the state, but with like schools. Like, so for a range of pre-K to 4, they're comparing and putting Park Ave at the 22nd percentile against other pre-K to 4 schools. Okay? Is
Okay.
that clearer?
So the good news is we've moved the needle. And I have to say publicly that the needle has not been moved for a long time in Webster. So the work that has been done in the last year is really demonstrating that we're on the right track. And I like to keep it simple. We're providing supports for teachers, and we're trying to ensure that the grade level standards are being taught, and that the teachers have at their access in their classrooms the resources that they need, and that they're able to determine what kids need. So we're trying to empower teacher voice again, and we're providing ample professional development. So we're going to briefly go through grade 3.
Yeah, we have a lot of grade levels with
Yes.
a lot of subjects. What I'd like to just point out first is we combine the exceeding expectations and meeting expectations when we report out. So I'm looking at 17. Park Ave was at 22% of the students exceeded or met expectations. This year, they're up to, in 2018, it was 53%. I also want you to look at the other side and notice how drastically they reduced the most at-risk students and improved having less kids not meeting expectations. And we're working on the partially met. That's our heavy work this year. So you see in math, math also went up for grade 3, where it was 19% exceeding and meeting. And now this past year, it was 29%. I'm just going to kind of keep rolling with this.
And also a decrease in the number of students not meeting from
Right.
43 to 19%.
Grade 4 ELA, we had 18% in 2017, and we're up to 32% this past year. And again, reducing the not meeting expectations. The math also increased from 12% to 22%, exceeding and meeting. And, going from 39 down to 32% on the not meeting. We've got some work there. We'll take a look at that this year.
And so briefly, again, these are some of the things that we've been doing, we're trying to build, and the number one thing on the top of this list is instructional leadership team. Teachers have to be part of change. They have to be part of understanding what the next steps are. Even if you're at the 80 percentile in the state, there's always room for improvement. So we're trying to build a leadership team where teachers are looking at data and being part of creating the next steps. I think another important piece here is that we have brought in a new reading program. We are now piloting a new reading program at the middle school and high school. We are using a district-wide assessment, the iReady assessment, which is highly correlated to MCAS results. And as I mentioned before, the teachers were trained on that October 3rd, and we're doing another deep dive data training this Thursday with the ILT team and the district leadership team. The adoption of a new math core curriculum. As we go through this data, you're going to see that this was drastically needed in the district. So we are implementing a new math program, as you know, K to 12. That's definitely going to help with assuring the students are being taught grade level standards and the teachers have the resources. And along with all of this, we have ongoing professional development, not only from our central office staff and our curriculum directors, but we have Looney math consultants coming into the elementary school for 12 days this year.
So let's move on to the Webster Middle School. Starting at grade 5 ELA. In 2017, they were at 14% exceeding, and notice there wasn't anyone exceeding last year, so the 14% was at the meeting. And this year, we've increased to 26%. And notice also we're decreasing the amount of students not meeting expectations. Also in math, last year they were at 7% exceeding meeting, and then this year we're at 18%. The science, we have 17% for 2017, and this past year it went up to 18. We're kind of flatlining to me in science, although we are reducing the amount of warnings. Oh, and this is, I believe the science is not the legacy. I mean, it's a legacy.
It's a legacy.
It's not next generation. Moving to sixth grade, ELA. We have 18% for 2017 exceeding meeting, and 2018, they went up to 23%. Again, you know, the other partially and not meeting, we've got some work to do there. And we're hopeful with Study Sync, bringing in that curriculum would help. Math for grade 6, we went from 13, we declined a little, to 11% exceeding and meeting. But we reduced the amount of not meeting expectations. Again, we're hopeful with the new math curriculum and the support from Looney. Grade 7 ELA, we went from 18% in 2017 to, I can do my math right, to 33% in 2018. Again, I believe we have some work to do in reducing the amount of not meeting expectations. Math for grade 7, 15%, and they went up to 20% meeting expectations. And grade 8 ELA, in 2017, they were 19% exceeding meeting, and this year they went up to 34%. That was a good jump for grade 8. They're a hard group, that age level, to really make a move. But we can do it. And the math results for grade 8, we went from 16% in 2017 to 19%. Again, with the new math program and the support of Looney, you should really be seeing something different next year. And the grade 8 science, pretty much consistent in both years. I know we have on the horizon new STEM scopes to be using, new curriculum in science, so there is a plan for that.
So I just want to comment that we're showing some movement at the middle school, and I think, you know, looking at the math scores and in particular the science scores, which have been flat, really shows us that we're on the right track. We had different grade levels using different math curriculum last year. This year now we have a consistent program that we're running and we're putting in place that's going to help with the scope and sequence of math along the grade level spectrums. And science is on our radar screen. We have, you know, implementing some STEM scopes at grades 5 and 6. We're looking at trying to bring in other resources to beef up our science curriculum. Science is definitely an area where I believe we need more hands-on learning and materials for our kids. So I want to also compliment the teachers across the district. When you come into a district and you put in a new reading program and you put in a new math program and you're tasking people with new science, that's a lot on everybody's plate. We seem to be doing really well with that, and we're going to continue to push to get the curriculum scope and sequence in place, but we have to give credit to our teachers because that's where it's happening, is in the classroom. So we need to continue to support them and make sure that they're following the new accountability standards that we are putting in place in this district. And I'm sure that we're going to see some progress.
We're seeing a lot of improvement with the hands-on science with STEM scopes. The kids are loving it. They're enjoying it. Science is hands-on. I mean, you cannot do an investigation without actually visualizing what it looks like, setting a hypothesis and writing a conclusion based on your data. So we're seeing that with our students, the hands-on The math, I'm seeing a lot of collaboration. We have Looney Math consultants coming in, and we're also offering PD to look at data. So I'm really excited about that. What I'm also hearing from the teachers is that the configuration of the schedule that we're using now, they're able to really go into the math in detail because we're using a flexible blocking of scheduling and a double block. So I do anticipate a significant improvement in next year's performance on these tests.
So here's Bartlett, and let me remind you that they took, this is the last year that they will be doing the legacy. So the spring of 2019, they will do the next generation MCAS, which is a much more rigorous task. So Bartlett for ELA, and this is grade 10. In 2017, there was, I'm on the wrong page.
81%.
81% advanced and proficient. And this year, it was 79%. So there's just a slight decline. But I want to point out, look at the warning failing, very few at 3 and 4%. Math results, we have 63% from the spring 2017, and this past year, it went up to 66%. And we have to work on the warning failing group. And then we have the science results at 55% for spring 2017 and 58% at the for the 2018. Pretty much, I would say, flatlining right there.
So Bartlett High School is now a turnaround school. They will be required to be writing a plan, which we will be writing with them to put the steps in place to show that we're making adequate improvement. They will be receiving more support from the Department of Education through the SSOS team. I am meeting with them tomorrow to outline next steps. I think this is not acceptable data for us, and we will be working on making the changes that we need. I know with the new math program, kids are really being tasked out of their comfort zone to think critically. And I think when you're in high school and you've not been tasked to think critically, it's very difficult. So there's a whole new way of teaching going on for math. And the fact that we have a new math program that has those strategies and we're beginning those critical thinking strategies at the elementary school is going to help us build that skill set in our students. Again, we are piloting a new English program, the Study Sinks. We are piloting the new math program. We're looking at, Peter's working with the ILT team on a new school improvement plan, but we will be building a bigger district Bartlett High School turnaround plan with clear goals, just like we did for the elementary school, and Michael's in the process of doing for his school. So those are our 2018 MCAS results. And we want to end with one sentence, the most important sentence here, that our goal really is to make sure that every student in this district can achieve. And we are determined to do that together and make a difference with our students and our community. And I will end with this one sentence that I say to everybody. MCAS is a snapshot of the district, more so of the district practices and procedures than our students. It's a good way for us to measure how we are going about teaching grade level standards. It's a standardized assessment. It is used by everyone in the state because we all receive federal funds and there has to be an accountability system. And I believe we're on the right track.
Any questions or comments from the committee?
Mr. Chair. So I have been reading this district's MCAS data reports that come out every year for the past 10 years since my daughter started school. This is good news.
Oh,
We are
good.
moving.
Good.
So I'm happy.
We are. You know, especially at Park Avenue, again, I want to give a shout out to the teachers. We still have a lot of room for improvement. There's still a lot to do here. But the fact that we have seen some growth really has inspired our teachers to a new level to not give up. Because it's easy to give up when you're in this cycle of not being a top performing school. You know there's many things, great things that happen in every classroom across this district. And you know, we don't want to teach to the test, but we want to make sure that our kids are leaving high school as critical thinkers, are prepared to be, you know, doing what they need to do. And I think that we are on the right track. I'm glad to hear that you agree.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd just like to echo Kathy's sentiments that it is very positive. I mean, we're moving in the right direction, although, like you said, we do need, you know, there's a lot of room to grow. My one question is, and I probably know the answer anyways, for you, it's sometimes difficult for us to understand this information. Are you going to be putting something together, put this in layman's term to get to the public?
I did send out a parent letter, and I put it in as much layman's terms as I could for parents, and certainly put on there, and any parents who are watching, as you get your child's report, please do not hesitate to call. That information is a guide, and the information that you bring about your child to the teacher is a guide to help us improve how we're reaching students. The new accountability system is new. And, you know, I am telling you that we are meeting tomorrow with the Department of Education to dig a little deeper because we need some more clarity on how they've calculated things. I just hope they stick with this accountability system. I like the way that they've done the accountability system and shown the specific areas where you can get 4 points when you look at the details, so you can really see where you're exceeding the targets and where you're not. So overall, across our district, absenteeism, for any parent who is watching this, chronic absenteeism is something that we need help with. Parents need to help us make sure that their students are coming to school and coming to school on time. So those are the areas that we're being marked on, and it takes everyone to pay attention to those areas. And I think the teachers are going to find that detailed accountability helpful because they can zone in, and we can zone in into subgroups. What subgroups are not getting what they need. So we already know our ELL students are not making progress. So we really have to look at our programming. And coincidentally, I'm doing the SEI course. That's why I was late here tonight. And Kathy Barris and I have been meeting and going over different things to help improve our programming. And so we're coming at it from different angles to help build a stronger structure in place for all of our students to succeed. So I will put it in more layman's terms if parents need me to, but
They should be getting those soon. I know I got my sons.
yep,
today as well.
they were mailed on Friday, and we mailed them all together as a district with one letter from the district administrative leadership team, and we want parents to call, and we want teachers to use that data when they're meeting with parent-teacher conferences. And I know as we get acclimated to using the new iReady system, we're not quite there yet. We're going to be sharing eventually that data with parents where students are, and we found a very close correlation between the iReady data and the MCAS results. So they're both standards-based. So it's really validating the steps that we took last year. This data is validating that we took the right steps. We were looking at curriculum, that we were prioritizing our scope and sequence, and that making sure that all classrooms knew what they were teaching. And you know, we want the teachers to be part of that conversation. They need to be.
And let me remind you that last year, we had 2 schools that really didn't have any good assessments, you know, benchmark assessments,
Oh, yes.
middle school and high school. And what we're finding right now with the correlation, they have that information, so we can do things about it, you know, put some systems in place. So they have a lot of data now.
And just one more comment. just because I always try to find the positive in everything. For the high school, although the numbers are lackluster, I did notice that in all three categories, the number of advanced students increased, and in science nearly doubled. So although there's way a lot of room to grow, there are some positives there as well.
And that's the thing about data. You can slice it and look at it. And the deeper you look, really we want to be able to know who we're not targeting and put plans in place to make sure that we're giving the kids what they need. And I think our data trainings with our teachers are going to equip them with a deeper understanding of how to do that in their own classrooms without being directed to do that. I have more report when you're ready to shift.
The SOS acronym, does that replace DSAC?
Yes.
Somebody told me, I thought, or I read somewhere, that and I know it's complicated, this new assessment formula. Is it true that the students on IEPs account for 50% of the calculation, and then those same students also account for the other 50%?
I know that that has been shared with staff. When I asked that question to the head of SSOS, she said no, that was not her understanding. So she's bringing, because I asked that question, she's bringing another data specialist to my meeting tomorrow. So I don't have the answer, and they didn't have the answer for me. So we're digging a little deeper.
Okay.
And hopefully by tomorrow after 10, we'll have the answer.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? I know you have other items on your report.
I do. I do. Okay. I think the Department of Education really likes the Webster Public Schools.
Either that or we're on a hit list.
I always look at audits as a way to learn more. So the last time that the district underwent a circuit breaker audit was, I think, three or 4 years ago. So it's time. So they'll do an audit this year that will cover our claims for FY18. So we are in the process of preparing for that. I'd like to give you a brief update on the professional development. I've already mentioned that October 3rd was a half-day professional development. We had a mixture of supportive workshops for our teachers where they were trained with iReady assessment training. Learning math consultants came in for the entire day. They conducted observations of teachers in the classrooms and then met with teachers. We had safety care training. We had Wyatt 3 training. And we had our DSAC/SSOS consultant do a Foundations of Inclusive Practices over at the high school. All of the events that we have planned for any of our half-days or full-day professional developments are aligned specifically to those goals that we shared with you at the beginning of the year. Those instructional strategies for 2018 and 2019 are really our guide. That's our strategic plan for improvement. And so everything we do, we're trying to align it to that. I would like to let you know that Ann Gillikin from the Department of Education came to my safety district meeting on October 4th to review our multi-hazardous plan and talk to us a little bit about our bully and intervention plan. Our bully intervention plan needs to be updated. It hasn't been updated since 2010, so we are working on that. We will bring it to the school committee. It is a policy that will need 3 readings. We're in the process of updating that, so we'll be bringing that to you. I'd also like to let you know for professional development, our attorney Batulis is coming in tomorrow to provide a free legal workshop for my district leadership team on an assortment of things. Last Friday, we were very lucky to have Mafre volunteer over at Park Avenue Elementary School. We had over 20 volunteers to help us finish doing some landscaping for Global Volunteering Day. We really cleaned up a lot more at Park Avenue Elementary School. It looks great, and I want to give a public shout out to the community partnerships that we're building and have in our community. People really love coming here to help. So I suspect we will see more of Mafre volunteers. Other updates, the state does put a cap on the number of students who can participate in MCAS alternative assessments. And in the 2016-2017 year, the alternative assessments are limited to students with specific cognitive disabilities, and the state limits this to 1% of the total number of students who take MCAS. We exceeded that by 1.5% for the past 2 years. So we are required to be sending a detailed report to the state on why. In turn, the commissioner will be asking a waiver from the U.S. Department for the state of Massachusetts, so we're working on that. Other updates, I think we have formed a very good partnership with MAFRE. I had my 3rd meeting with them, which included some representatives from the Boston Children's Hospital. We are currently working on getting a Think Safety First program at the elementary school and a brain investigation safety presentation at the middle school. So we're waiting for dates. Boston Children's Hospital comes out. It's free of charge, and they're willing to come in to really wrap their arms around the Webster Public Schools. Typically, when organizations like that come in, they'll say, I'll do a big assembly, and we'll do a one-shot deal. Well, they're willing to come in and do class by class by class by class, which is amazing. So we have some other good ideas that we've been working on, but I'll save those for when they come to fruition. As I had said earlier, I'm in the SEI course, and Kathy and I have been meeting, looking really closer at our ELL programming. We are starting an ELL parent advisory group. The letters are being translated right now, and then they're going to be sent out to our ELL parents. We have already set aside 3 dates. We will be holding those meetings at North Village and providing lunch for our parents. On another note, I've attended the CMC collaborative meeting. They have 4 districts that are looking to join. They're offering a 15% discount to districts that are going to join. In the meantime, I had Mike Tempesta met with Monique and the business manager in Worcester to discuss the implications of allowing for districts to come in with a 15% discount, because some of those districts already are members. And we still stand that we've given our notice of intent to leave. And I have told them that we'll wait to see if there will be any programmatic changes or improvements. And if we decide that things are moving in that direction, we can always stay in that collaborative. That's an update on that. Another update is that Blackstone Valley Educational Foundation has invited us to become members. In the past, they've opened up certain things to the high school only. It's a collaborative, it's a foundation that offers professional development and programs for kids. And Paul Linsky is coming in on Friday this week to meet with my administrative team to give us more details about what this membership will entail. It costs $2,500, which is a decreased rate from, I think, $4,500. He opened it up to the surrounding towns of Auburn, Oxford, Webster. Everyone else has joined. We're going to sit down with him. I did bring some pamphlets for the committee if you'd like to see what they have to offer. We'll know more about it after we have our meeting on Friday. I do want to give you an enrollment update. The previous numbers that we gave you of 1,906 students, I believe, those included out-of-district students. So the accurate number is 1,839. That's 459 students at Bartlett High School, 573 at Webster Middle School, and 807 at Park Ave. I think I had given you those specific numbers, but the total was incorrect. And then, as I said, DESE does really like Webster. They are coming out to do a site visit of our adult education program on November 15th. And that concludes my report.
Any questions or comments from the committee for Mrs. Gogan? Hearing none, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the business manager report. Good evening, Mrs. Perangeli.
Good evening. You should have all received in your packet a copy of reports from the end of year report. I didn't send the whole report along because really these final reports encompasses the whole thing. And I think I think these reports are really good for you to look at. It really gives you a nice overview of the district with all funds, including our LEA funds and grants, revolving funds. So it really gives you a nice picture of everything. So the first report, the first 3 pages, at top it says expenditure summary FY17. That's a typo on the report. It's actually FY18. We had a few of them this year. The Department of Ed sent out the reports. They've also been having some growing pains and turning over some staff in the financial offices. So they've had new people taking over things and updating things. So there were a couple little glitches in the report this year when they sent it out. So they're having some learning pains, but they're getting through them. So it really is FY18 reports. You'll see the first column is school committee appropriations. So that's our budget. That's our LEA budget. Second column is any city or town appropriations. So anything that is charged off to us by the city or town. Third column is federal grants. This encompasses all of our federal grants. When you're completing the report individually, you're actually breaking out Title I. There's a column for Title I, a column for special ed, and then just all other grants are lumped into that other federal. This report just puts it all together in one, which is handy. So on federal grants, you have all your Title I grants, you have your special ed grants, teacher quality grants. You have some smaller grants like your National School Lunch. We got a $10,000 grant there. That's included in there. 21st Century is a federal grant. So that's all in column 3. Column 4 is state grants. It's a lot smaller now. Everything is pretty much funnels through the federal government down. State grants that we have would be our early childhood grant.
Adult ed.
Adult Ed is a state grant, but we don't report that on the end of year report. They've asked us not to do that anymore. We have ASOS programs, which is one of our after-school programs. We had a small Department of Ed summer food grant. Our 220E grant is also a state grant. The next column over is circuit breaker. So that is our circuit breaker funds. That's individual. Private grants and gifts, that is any donations that are made, gifts that are made, you know, a Malsner, Fells, anything like that. School choice and other tuition would be our school choice monies that we spend, and other tuitions would be our summer school tuitions that we collect in summer school. Athletic fund is exactly that. It's just our athletic revolving account. School lunch is our school lunch revolving account. And other local receipts are anything that's miscellaneous, like an insurance recovery, a book recovery, bless you, preschool, before and after. Those are all things that fall into other local receipts. So the first page is all instruction. The report is broken down by instruction and then non-instructional. So the first page you can flip through, and I'm not going to go through every column or every line, because I think as we get towards the end of the reports, it's a better comparison. But this is a nice snapshot so you can see what we spend out of grants or anything. And please stop if you have any questions along the way. Page 2 is just a continuation. This is when you get into the 3,000. So we say 2,000 series is instructional, anything beyond that. So anything like our nursing or our maintenance or any repairs or anything like that, that's all. Any insurance, retirement, all of that is in this section. Transportation, all the way down. And page 3 is a summary of everything. So if you were to total everything up on the very right-hand side, for the school department, it's $34,192,395. That's our LEA, or anything appropriated by the town, on the town side, all of our grant funding, circuit breaker, everything like that. So that's how much we spent this year. Any questions yet? No? Okay. The next report on the next page is our FY18 net school spending. So this is a nice report that breaks down what our actual net school required spending is and what we actually spent. So if you just go right down to, this one, my eyes go all the time, right down to number 16, our required net school spending is 22,425. What we actually spent was 25,000,008, so we're 3.4 million over our net school spending, so we're in good shape there. There are communities out there that are just hitting that minimum, that are just making the mark. So we're doing okay there. FY19, that is projection. So we put in our budget for this year. Same thing, net school spending, and it's just giving us an idea where we are in the ballpark. So if you go down to line 38, this is estimating our required net school spending is 23,346. We're actually projected to spend 26.9 million, so we're 3.5 over for net school spending in our FY19 budget. The next reports are some of my favorites, and this is where I review, I actually enjoy looking at these because I think it really tells you a story about where your money's going in the school district. So if you look down, I always look for comparisons. At the last column, I look for any big changes. It tells me right away, alerts me if I've done something wrong or if there's a big mark. Why is there a big change in something? It should be pretty level as we go through. You'll notice right away on the first line, it was minus 22%. Why? Well, that's just timing. That line right there is our Medicaid money. So if you'll see what came in FY17, there was probably some quarters from timing of FY16 money coming in a little late, so it was marked in FY17. And in FY18, we'll probably see the same thing, depending on when the revenue hits the books. You can scroll down that column and see any large changes. I will point out, like line number, I believe it's 78. You notice district technology. That was one of the changes that was made that the Department of Ed is asking us to report it somewhere else. So now we're seeing some changes there. And keep scrolling down. We go through maintenance and all of our areas down to special funds and grants. This is all consolidated of everything that we spent. And then...
Can I just stop you for 1 minute?
Sure thing.
Line 102, is that just one student out of state that moved in, you think? The out-of-state schools?
Yes. Yes, we did have an out-of-state this year, which
So
is something
somebody
we
just moved
typically
in and-
don't. Yes, yeah. That is correct, because it's not in charter. And you'll notice, if you look at right underneath that, when you're looking at the collaborative and the private school, that's just kind of the discrepancies there sometimes is where we hit the circuit breaker money. Sometimes it was allocated to take so much out of private school and certain out of collaborative. I just assume take it all out of one spot, and then it's easier to mark.
I noticed that you're allowed to do that?
Yes. The way they want us to do the bookkeeping is they want us to take everything and pay everything out of the LEA, 100%,
Right.
and then do one journal over. And we can do it as long as the funds are there, as long as we have the expenditures
So
there.
that's why I think it was actually collaborative, your line item, all the circuit breaker funds were there.
Right out.
That's just
To me, it's just an easier
That's a
mark.
journal entry at the end of.
Yep.
Okay.
And then it also makes it easier because when you're filing the reports, in the end of year report, I always look for easy to make things crosswalk easy when an auditor comes in and asks. There's reports in there that Schedule 4 is a special ed report, and you have to break everything out by program. So, in that report, what I mean by program is some of our special ed kids, if they could be a 10. A 10 would be, you have a special ed background, tell me if I'm explaining, right. And a 40, a 41 would be somebody who goes to a collaborative. A 50 might be somebody in a private day school. 90 might be a residential student. So when I'm breaking it out, it's just easier to say, okay, everything in the circuit breaker I know is a collaborative, I know it's a 41, period. It goes all into that one column. So in my mind, that's how my mind works. It's just kind of easier for reporting. Otherwise, I have to say, okay, I'm taking $600,000 from private schools. Now I got to find the $600,000 worth of schools. Then I got to break them out. So it's just an easier crosswalk.
Okay.
Any other questions on that page? No. You also notice too, you'll see one, went up 100%. It's a small amount. Food service, line 82, that is our lunch monitors for the year. So that was a different, when I looked at that. And then, let's go on to the next page. Nothing crazy here. You'll notice that when you get down to the bands on line 116, you'll start to see items there now we're paying at the town. So that's stuff that's reported from the town side that we report on our books. There's expenditures from the school and expenditures from the town. So you'll see that there. You'll also notice,
So that, let me just say, that's not actually coming out of our budget.
it's
It's an accounting function of where the dollar is being assigned,
right.
correct?
It is money that is spent on the town's side
Right.
for the school's behalf.
But we're not having to,
We're not paying that out
Okay.
of our budget, no. And then there's pretty much nothing too exciting on this page. Everything's pretty good, set down. If you go over to the next page where it's Schedule 3 instructions, you're going to see some differences here on this page. So if you scroll down FY18, whatever you see, there's a grayed out field, that's a change the department made. So that's one of the required changes department. So we had to reallocate the funds. So if you scroll down, you're going to notice there's no more specialist teachers, there's no more instructional coordinators. All of that now is lumped into the classroom teachers. So that's why you see the discrepancies there. Not too much. If you go down, you'll see a big increase in classroom instructional technology. That is the Chromebooks we purchased this past year. And then there's not too much else. Everything looks okay. You're welcome to look and ask any questions, email any questions. The report was submitted on time. We can continue to amend this report for the next year. Anytime we see if I found a mistake, I already know there's one amendment that I need to do when we were filing the report. We have to do the retiree health insurance on the town side. And it was something new that started a few years ago, so it hadn't made the list of things he was required to send over. I didn't realize it until I was sending it in, and they were on vacation. So I said, you know what, I'm going to submit the report as is, and I can amend that when it comes in, which is no problem. They actually encourage amending it and also encourage any changes in the current budget, because you're submitting a projected budget also, so they recommend it. Are there any questions on that?
I just had a, what's,
Sure.
so
what page?
on page 6 of 8, line 209, payments to other districts.
Yep, so these are out-of-district costs, out of schools.
Okay,
So that's your 91, 92, 93, 9200 is out, 9300 is private school, so any tuition to a private school. 9200 is day school, 9100 is out-of-state school, I believe. 94 below that is our collaboratives.
And
So those, all of our out-of-district tuition.
that's all special ed related,
Uh,
most of it.
Most, yes, most, yep. It is, well, we don't have anything choice and charter there. But yeah, 91, 9200, 9300, 94 are all out of district. That is all special ed related.
In line 125 on page 4, charter school, the increase, do you think that has to do with the new school in Sturbridge?
Yes,
That's
yep,
what I thought.
yep. Yep, we do have students attending there.
Right. Because it was interesting, there was a significant decrease from 16 to 17.
Mm-hmm,
And then it unfortunately went back up.
yep.
Any other questions or comments from the?
I just want to compliment Monique on doing this end of the year report. She does a great job and did it, last year you had some help with it, and this year you were on your own. You did a very good job.
Thank you. Thank you. The next item on my report, well, it's official, FY20 has started. We held our first meeting on October 1st. This was really an introduction to the budget process. The superintendent can talk about her mission that she gave to the leadership team. I was merely there just to facilitate, to hand out templates, explain the process, and to sit down, because we do have new principals, to open up my door to say, come in and sit down to review your budgets from the prior years. This is how we've processed, and we'll go through the budget season. I don't know, the superintendent would like to speak to the mission that she talked about.
It was clear.
It was clear. It was a good.
Needs, not wants. Student programming first. Look closely at effectiveness and efficiency of existing resources. I think we did a really good job with that last year in the budget, using our existing resources and changing things around, but not spending too much money. We really did stress taking a systems approach. And then the budget process, you know, the principals are going back to their buildings and they're meeting with their school councils, their ILT teams, with their teachers. They're going to be bringing back their first drafts to meet individually with Monique and myself on the week of October 18th. We'll be starting those individual meetings to really look at the justifications for what they're requesting. And you know, I think the bottom line was students' needs first, and the data that you saw tonight will help us drive some of our ongoing budgetary decisions.
Absolutely. So I think we're off, we're running. I'm sure we'll have much information coming forward. The superintendent and I did attend a Chapter 70 workshop just to get a good background. It was a good refresher to me to hear it, and it was a good morning for the superintendent just to kind of see the process and understand where some of the areas where the state's getting their calculations from. It's always good to understand that and to hear it. I don't know if you felt it was beneficial.
I definitely did.
I think at some point she looked at me and she goes, "What does that mean?"
No, he said, what did he say, Chapter 78? He said Chapter 78.
Oh, he kept saying Chapter 70.
Right.
And it sounded like 78. And she goes,
Asked,
"What
what's
is
Chapter 78?
Or what the wealth factor.
Yeah.
Wealth. Yeah. That well is empty.
Yeah.
But it was really good information, and I think I look forward to heading through the budget season. I look forward to working with the principals and seeing what they come back with their plans. I look forward to seeing what the staff is coming to them. We're approaching the budget, like the superintendent said, on needs and what's best for the district as a whole, and looking at the approach that way. So we're off.
Any questions or comments from the hearing none? Now you know, aside from Mrs. Naparata, how we feel when you guys start throwing around all those acronyms. We just sit here and pretend like we know what you're talking about.
He really surprised me. I'm like, wait a minute, we're talking about Chapter 70.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is Principal Report, Robin Parmley, Park Avenue Elementary School. Good evening, Mrs. Parmley. I need you to push the button so the green light is on. Let me just, on behalf of the committee, welcome you to your quote-unquote first official school committee meeting. I know you joined us in the summer. I think that was actually before you officially started, but welcome.
Thank you. Very glad to be here. Park Avenue has had a great start. Seems really loud. Push that back. Okay. We've had a great start. We had our very first open house, and it was a huge success. I can't even begin to imagine how many hundreds and hundreds of people came through the building. They were very excited. We had a scavenger hunt so that they would move throughout the building and be able to find all the locations. Very interactive. We had our glacier there, our polar bear. We had our superintendent. We had just so many people available that helped to meet the families, and I think the turnout was fantastic. After speaking to teachers, they were just thrilled at how many folks showed up. So we just want to thank all the families for taking that time to come on out. Let's see here. We had a great opening, very smooth opening, very successful. We had Glacier there also. We've also had, as you know, the Looney Math Consulting Group out. We've had our iReady training, and we've had our iReady Math and ELA diagnostic testing for grades 1 through 4, which went very well, and kindergarten is coming up. One thing that we've tried to do this year is to put out what we call the Polar Bear Blast every Friday to kind of give parents an idea and a peek of what's happening at Park Avenue, especially the assessment pieces, so that they're aware what the students are involved in. So looking at one of the aspects for me personally is definitely looking at culture and climate and how students are being really affirmed of who they are and how we expect them to act and behave and to give 100% in their learning. So one of the aspects that we've done is to bring in school-wide voice volumes, a quiet signal, as we talk to them a lot about kids of character. I talk to them many times about who they'll be tomorrow, the young man and young woman that they will be is happening right now as they make those choices. And as you move throughout the building, you will see the students with their quiet signals up. And I am excited to say we met with the transportation director, and she has asked for a copy of our voice volumes. She would like to carry that over into the buses. So I'm thrilled about that because, again, it will be common language. So if you take a look at your pack, I just kind of gave you some samples of what we've been giving out at Park Avenue. I believe the front cover is our first letter that kind of introduced myself and my vision and hope for the school as we look for this first year. And then the second page is our character pledge, and this is how we start every day at Park Avenue. And if you were to come to the school, you should be able to ask any student, kindergarten through fourth grade, they should be able to say this, own it, and understand it. So I challenge you, by all means, and encourage you, stop by and stop somebody, and they should be able to tell it to you.
I've witnessed it.
You've witnessed
I have witnessed it, and it was a young student. He had to be in first grade or kindergarten, and he knew this whole thing.
And Mrs. Pomley, what do you do when one of your students recites this poem, this pledge?
Oh, I do the happy dance.
Can we
Which I
get
will
that
not
on?
And she does.
Not do on camera.
Demonstration.
Only if you
That's-
join her, Mr.
That's
Taylor.
right. That's for student eyes only, but we definitely celebrate. We want to celebrate that they're making the right choices, doing the right thing. And as you notice, part of this pack also has our character traits. So we started off the first month by looking at, being a PBIS school, what it means to be respectful, responsible, and safe. And now we have moved into October, so our focus area is integrity. What does it mean to be a kid of integrity? Doing the right thing, even when nobody is looking. And so one of the pieces that we really took here is during our Kid College. And I know I was asked about Kid College. So if you take a look at one of the next pages, it has our agenda for our very first one. So Kid College is twofold. First of all, it provides our teachers a chance to meet in their instructional teams in order to look at work samples, to look at data within the instructional day without having to have an additional meeting. But selfishly, it's really for me because it's my time to really connect with kids and to explain my expectations, to model it. How do I expect them to be treating one another, talking about that character trait? How are we responding as learners? Are we giving effective effort, and what does that look like? So if you take a look, you'll see that was just my agenda that I use. We're bringing in pieces that we're talking about with our turnaround plan, such as academic discourse. So giving them opportunities to practice that with turn and talk, modeling language, and giving them a challenge and a charge. And I will tell you, I have done Kid College at different places, and I absolutely, this first Kid College with 12 classrooms of third and fourth graders were the very best behaved students I have ever seen kick off Kid College. Incredibly impressed. So that is really kudos to the boys and girls at Park Avenue School and what the teachers have been doing with them. So our kids of character, as we do the pledge, we're also recognizing them because that's the polar bear way. And so every Friday we have a recognition ceremony for the students who have demonstrated that character trait. And then we'll also be ending the month with our character leader of the month who has really just kind of all aspects of being a kid of character and celebrating it with a parent breakfast. So lots going on at Park Avenue. And I think we're just scratching the surface. We're getting ready, students are motivated, we're on a great track, teachers are inspired, we're ready to go.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee? Let me just say that in the short amount of time that you've been here, I think every single parent and staff member that I've spoken to have praised you as a leader and continuing, we have to focus on test scores because that's the way the world assesses us at times, but your positivity and by the way, I think the adults in our community need these character trait reminders, including myself, trust me. But what you're bringing as far as your energy and your positivity and your ability to connect with the adults and the kids. It's, from what I've been told, I don't have any kids in Park Avenue anymore, but it's been a wonderful, wonderful first couple months, so we're thrilled to have you in the district.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to be here, truly. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, we will continue with the agenda under old business, the monthly fundraising report, again, per school committee policy. We are updated each month on the fundraising applications that have been approved by the building principals and Mrs. Gogan. This past month, the middle school is selling items from a catalog to support the student activity account. Park Ave PTO has several fundraisers going on. The Medical Careers Club will be selling carnations. The Bartlett Deca Club will be selling snacks again at the concession stand. Oh, I was thinking this was the basketball. This is actually at the youth soccer field down at George Street. The music program will be standing outside local businesses asking for money on October 5th and 6th. That actually already happened. Class of 2019 will be selling homecoming tickets for the dance that occurs this Saturday night, Mr. Cushing? Yeah. Senior class t-shirts were sold. Again, the DECA Club is selling t-shirts and winter hats. Anybody wants to purchase one, you can reach out to a DECA member or Mrs. Hainig. They're also selling homecoming t-shirts. National Honor Society is going to be selling candy bars specifically sold before and after school so that we don't violate any federal health.
Don't want that.
No. We have enough audits going on, right?
That's right. Actually, I think just saw something. Might be getting. I think another one might.
When it rains, it pours.
I guess.
Usually every other year.
Somebody just said she likes audits, so you better stop saying that. They
We
might be
always
watching.
learn something from them. You do.
Yeah, it's a good practice.
The class of 2019 had a car wash. The volleyball had the second annual co-ed volleyball tournament, which I heard was a lot of fun. And then finally, the class of 2019 will be doing trick or treat night, which I think Mariah mentioned on Friday, October 26th. So all of those are posted as usual on the district website. And again, we thank the staff members and the community volunteers who help support our students in their endeavors. Moving on into new business, the first item under new business, Mr. Zajac mentioned at our last meeting, he is the approval of the out-of-state field trip, grade 8 to Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Mr. Zajac?
Good evening. I'm excited to bring this forward to the committee for approval. It's a trip that I've probably run, 12 times. I've gone to DC, now with my own family, but with 8th graders. It's a great experience for them, an opportunity to learn about our rich history, not just from a textbook, but to actually walk the halls. And it's a wonderful opportunity. The proposal I'm moving forward is a 3-day, 2-night trip. It's $500 per student, and it includes pretty much all their meals. The only meal they would have to purchase is the Wednesday morning breakfast and lunch and dinner on the way home on Friday evening. Other than that, everything's included. All the sites, continental breakfast, tram for the Arlington National Cemetery, Smithsonian's. So I've been doing this. I think the first time I've been to Washington, D.C. with a group of kids was back in 1997, I think, or 98. And back then it was $385. So considering what we're getting, I think it's very competitive. So I'm here to answer questions if you have.
Okay, any questions or comments from the committee?
Mr. Chairman.
Chenoweth.
Mr. Zajac, I know we've talked about this. I think it's a fantastic idea. I went on a trip similar when I was in 8th grade, and I don't think there's any better way to learn and actually going and seeing some of these places. But I do have a couple questions on the financial end. I'm going to assume you're going to be doing some fundraising and some scholarships and,
We have a number of parents just waiting for it, hopes it gets approved. We have a number of events that we are looking at. I've also had a committee where parents go out and businesses within the community would donate funds that would go directly towards the trip to offset the cost. We are looking at individual fundraisers where students can raise money for their expenses. We're also looking at what are called general fundraisers to help the trip. For an example, I've learned a lot in the years, and we need to provide water for our students underneath the bus. So we've purchased, I used to purchase water cases and cases of water. We put them under the bus, so when the kids heat up and they want a bottle of water, they're not relying on their own money. We give it to them before they get off the bus. So there are things that we'll do to offset the cost. There's things that we bring with us on the trip on each bus to provide comfort. Things like we get movies, so we watch movies, or we might bring some card games, some things for kids to get entertained with. My plan would be to offer a variety of fundraisers, not make it mandatory. We do have some and I want to say there's fundraising available built into the trip if you have so many paying individuals. That would be, I would hope to offer some assistance to families and could be a half scholarship to offset the cost. That's something that would work out in terms of numbers. But to be honest with you, I've already have emails from parents today interested in chaperoning, so I haven't responded yet. So I'm holding off. It's important. We want to encourage all children to go, but there will be a financial obligation. But we will offset that, do our best to assist. But there will be each family will be responsible for some type of financial assistance and paying towards it.
all right, that was going to be my follow-up question, is if there's not enough fundraising to completely cover the $500,
Yeah.
just to make clarification so people know, the responsibility then falls on the parents to pay. And if
That is correct.
the student doesn't have enough, they're not eligible to go.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I had a fundraiser where we did a calendar raffle where they raffled off a $25 gift card to a restaurant. And I had a young lady a mother who had twins in 8th grade, and she raised enough to pay for herself and her daughters to go. And I had to refund her all her money, not the fundraiser money, but what she paid. So it's how much they want to do. So the calendar raffle is you donate a $25 gift card and then you sell $10 raffle tickets. And we were raffling off every day, raffling off a family who it could have been a $25 card to Panera, or it could have been a local restaurant. So that raised a lot of funds. We did that. So that raised money. We did car washes. We did where kids sold the car washes in advance. So families would show up and the money would go towards their account. So there's a lot of creative things you can do. We're also looking into a basketball tournament. That was,
Preference.
yes.
I'm biased towards that one. I might have dropped that hint on that one.
So I did look at that email today. So we are looking at a variety of things. But it will ultimately come down to the families, it will.
And then just one more, just again for clarification, since it is a tremendous privilege, what are the eligibility requirements for students?
Good point. I think it's a privilege. And I think that one thing I explain to students, you get their rights and there's privileges. And what I've said to many of our students is that you have to be in good academic standing. And also, I do say to students that if you cannot abide by the rules in the building and you cannot be respectful, then I cannot take you 600 miles away. It just wouldn't be a responsible thing to do. So those are things that I will meet with the students. And I've done this trip the past 7 years in a row. What I have found is that the students really buy into it. I'm already hearing from students that they do not want to get in trouble. They want to make good choices. And that's the key. And it's because when they're making good choices, they're in the classroom learning. And that's really what it comes down to. So for me, I went on one of these trips back when I was in 8th grade. I went to New York, and I never had many opportunities to travel much as a child, but I've never forgotten that. And again, that was 38 years ago. So I think it's important to offer this to our kids.
Any other questions or comments? I know you estimate the number of adults required will be 20, and I understand why the substitutes required is unknown at this time. But based on your experience, do you think you're gonna, the only concern I have is the cost associated with
No.
bringing substitutes?
We only take as many, we only take as many staff members as needed.
Okay,
So make it very clear, if we have kids back, I need to have a ratio of teachers staying back. So, no, I do not, that will not be, historically, I've never had that done. If I do take a staff member, what I've done in the past is a staff member who has a diminished schedule would fill in for the teacher who did go.
okay.
So, no, I have never had to hire subs to come in. No, that's not the key.
Okay. Hearing no other questions or comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the grade 8 field trip to Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to be held on May 29th to the 31st.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Laurie, would you poll the committee, please?
Yes.
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 Yes. Next item on the agenda is the acceptance of a donation from the McDonald's Corporation. It appears we received a check for $500. Mrs. Gogan?
That was from the summer when they held that fundraiser. And we received 20% of what they made on that particular day. We will be splitting that check between the 3 schools for fairness, and that money will be used for either students in need or to put towards a field trip. We want to thank McDonald's for their donation.
Absolutely. Any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to accept the donation of $500 from McDonald's Corporation, and to reiterate Mrs. Gogan's statement on behalf of the committee, thank them for their generosity.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Laurie, would you poll the committee, please?
Yes.
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 Yes, and just quickly before I get to the next item on the agenda, I just want to thank all of the administrators for joining us this evening. I know all of you work very hard. You have very early mornings, and some of you have relatively long drives home. So thank you for attending this evening, and again, we appreciate all your efforts. Next item on the agenda is review, transfer, signing of bills, payroll, and vouchers. I will entertain a motion to transfer $2,820.95 from the Webster Middle School Student Activity Savings Account to the Webster Middle School Student Activity Checking Account.
So moved. Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Laurie, would you poll the committee, please?
Yes.
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 Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Shennerbert,
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
there's a motion and a second. Laurie, would you pull the committee, please?
Yes.
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 Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.